for the playing of the national anthem. Would council member Favor lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, council member. We don't have a pastor to pray with us this week, but I did want to, like I did 2 weeks ago, the last time we met, to acknowledge that 2 weeks ago, that Monday, there were 57 deaths in Columbus due to the COVID virus. Since then, as of 2:30 p.m. this afternoon, another 79 members of our community have lost their lives to this virus. It is real, it is still here, and I ask for a moment of prayer for those 79 additional neighbors who lost their lives since this council has last met. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Any person who enters those areas of council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
This week's communication received by the city's clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
I just want to say we are getting this meeting started, and there is a bit of a storm coming through the city. Currently, council members in chambers feel safe, but I know that we are meeting remotely from all throughout the city. I am asking that if conditions change or warrant in wherever your respective area, please let us know, and we will recess council until it is safe for us to come back. So please work with your aides in particular and directors. If you need, just let us know, and we will do that recess as appropriate. With that, are there any resolutions by members of council, starting with Councilmember Elizabeth Brown, President Pro Tem?
Thank you, President Hardin, and thank you for that. I don't have a resolution. I do have an announcement that this Wednesday, May 20th, I'll be hosting happy hour themed virtual office hours on Facebook Live, 5 p.m. I'll be joined by Seventh Sun Brewing's Colin Castor and Watershed Distillery's Greg Lehman to talk about how they're finding joy even amidst these challenging times, and in particular, what they're doing to support their workers and our larger community through the pandemic. So I hope folks can find some time before dinner, a short while, to join us for the conversation. I hope that it does bring a little bit of uplifting time to our days, which we know are long and difficult for many folks right now. Thank you, President Hardin.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Councilmember Mitch Brown.
I have nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Dorans. Do we hear Councilmember Dorans? We'll go to
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you. Nothing for me tonight.
Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. Can everyone hear me? Wonderful. Tonight I have resolution 0085X-2020 to recognize the members of the Columbus Youth Council and honor the Columbus City Schools class of 2020 graduates. Earlier this year, we launched the Columbus Youth Council to provide juniors and senior high school students from Columbus City Schools the opportunity to interact with city leaders, ask questions, and learn how they could serve their community. Unfortunately, our time with these bright young leaders was cut short due to the pandemic, including our planned trip to Washington, D.C. this summer. Although we didn't get the chance to finish our inaugural class the way we planned, these students have continued to engage and suggest ways to lift up each other and their classmates during this challenging time. We know this is a difficult time for many students. We are proud to honor and recognize all of the city's 2020 graduates for their hard work and their resiliency. I'd now like to turn it over to Council Pro Tem and Education Chair Elizabeth Brown, who is co-sponsoring this ordinance with me tonight. Liz, excuse me.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Favor. I really want to thank you for your work with the Youth Council, for helping us to recognize all graduates in 2020, but more so for engaging in this wonderful process with leaders in our own schools. It's wonderful to see students empowered to take action in the face of adversity, and you are specifically why they feel empowered. As you know, when we give young people the opportunity to find solutions, the results are always inspiring. So I'm excited to continue learning from the Youth Council as they make their voices heard on the challenges facing them and our community, and to do our small part to help recognize the graduating seniors from CCS through this resolution for their accomplishment. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And now I'd like to turn it over to Columbus City Schools Superintendent, Dr. Talisa Dixon, who is joining us along with a couple of students to accept this resolution tonight. And I believe Dr. Dixon was having a couple of some technology issues. So Dr. Dixon, are you on? I do know that we have a fellow student with us, Jay Kamara. Jay, are you on?
Hi, everyone. It's Jay.
Hi, Jay. If you could just, we're waiting on the superintendent to join us, but please feel free to say some words and perhaps just your experience with graduation and just how COVID has affected you at this time.
Even though graduation didn't go as planned, I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing to make us feel celebrated. I think it's really important to acknowledge us, and the acknowledgement has really made us seniors feel proud.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us this evening. If anyone had an opportunity to catch the graduation on Saturday, we know that one thing that adults have said about COVID and our youth is that they have taught adults how to use technology properly and what not to do on TikTok. So thank you for keeping us all enlightened. Dr. Dixon, has she been able to join us yet? And I think we may have another student that has joined us. If you are on. Samuel?
My name is Samuel Frumpkin. I am a senior at Whetstone High School. And, I know that this all has been very just like out of the blue, and a lot of seniors are, reasonably upset about the circumstance that we're in. But I, being an ambassador, can see that our administration is, really trying and to do as much as they can to ease that for us. So that's something that I appreciate going on with this.
Thank you, Samuel. We truly appreciate you taking some time to just to speak to the council in the city of Columbus today. Unfortunately, Dr. Dixon is having some technical difficulties, so she will not be able to join us. But once again, on behalf of Council Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown and myself, we just want to extend our appreciation and gratitude to our students, to our graduating students. Thank you for all of your hard work over these past 12 years. You have earned this moment, and we are going to do our best here at City Council to celebrate you all week long because this is your time. And so thank you for all your hard work and for not giving up. And so with that being said, Council President Hardin, I would move for adoption.
Councilmember Remy seconded. With that, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
All right, the resolution is passed, and we are going to continue to congratulate and celebrate our class of 2020. Thank you, Councilmember Favor.
Council President Hardin,
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more announcement, if you don't mind.
Please.
Thank you. So last but not least, the virtual prom is coming up this weekend. Virtual prom was an idea developed and supported by the Columbus Youth Council. It will be held on Saturday, May 23rd from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in partnership with Radio 1 Columbus. The event will kick off with a live red carpet show to be hosted by Columbus Youth Council members. Prom will begin at 8 p.m. and will feature music from radio personalities, DJ Mr. King and CC, as well as virtual shout-outs from celebrities and local leaders. The event will be live streamed on Instagram, Facebook, and at www.mycolumbuspower.com. And when I say walk the red carpet, we'll be literally walking the red carpet in our living room. So hopefully you all can join us and please spread the word. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion to recess for 15 minutes. The weather that is moving through the city, even though it's not terrible right now where we are, could be in different places, and we want to model good behavior as council. So I would ask for a motion to recess, and we're going to come back in 15 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Pro Tem. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
All right, council's recess for 15 minutes. back to order. May I have a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
In second, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, Stuver, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
All right, we are back in our regular meeting number 20. The next, Councilman Remy, do you have any resolutions or announcements?
I do, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much, Council President Hardin. I have one resolution this evening. It's ordinance number 86/2020 to encourage residents to follow the recommendation of the Centers for Disease Control, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, and wear non-medical face coverings while in public. Whereas on Wednesday, April 29, 2020, Governor DeWine strongly recommended that all Ohioans wear non-medical face masks when out in public. And whereas Columbus City Council launched a social media campaign to raise awareness with the public to Mask Up Columbus as part of the city's Mask Equals Kindness initiative. Council is asking the public to use the hashtag MaskUpCBus on social media to help promote this serious issue. And whereas goals of the campaign include raising awareness on the importance of wearing face coverings, providing instructions on how to make face coverings, and educate residents on how to properly use coverings. And whereas according to Columbus Public Health, homemade facial coverings should fit snugly but comfortably against the side of the face, be secured with rubber bands, ties, or ear loops, including multiple layers of fabric, allow for breathing without restriction, and be able to be laundered and machine dried. And whereas it is imperative we wear masks or fabric face coverings and stay at least 6 feet away from others while out in public to reduce the spread of COVID-19. And whereas wearing face coverings isn't simply about protecting yourself, it's also about protecting others around us. It's about doing our part as individuals to keep our friends, family, and neighbors safe by flattening the curve. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus to encourage residents to follow the recommendation of the Centers for Disease Control and Ohio Governor DeWine and wear non-medical face coverings. This issue, obviously, we started on this path with the social media campaign through a conversation I had with Council President in regards to the decision by the governor to take back wearing masks as a requirement in public and leave it optional. And we felt that within the city of Columbus, this is an important issue for any of you that shop on a regular basis at our local establishments and have an opportunity to talk with our first line workers. If you take a moment to talk to them, they're nervous. They're nervous at hundreds of people to thousands of people that walk in front of them every single day. They're nervous that they're putting their lives on the line to feed their families. And so we ask people to wear masks just if for no other reason than to make others feel comfortable, because it's the right thing to do. It's the neighborly thing to do. It's the Columbus way of doing things. And so, we feel this is very important to help raise awareness. There have been a number of mask giveaways by OSU Medical Center throughout the community, and those will continue. And we believe that it's important that people have a heightened awareness of social distancing as we move towards opening up the economy. We saw some examples this weekend of establishments that attempted to open up the economy, but some of them didn't quite do it the right way. And, we are all about making sure that we're moving back into the right direction, but we want to do it safely. I, for one, do not want to spend another 9 weeks in isolation because we did it the wrong way. This is an important and serious issue for the city of Columbus. And so therefore, that's why I brought this resolution forward and asked my colleagues for their support. Are there any comments that my colleagues would like to make about this resolution?
I do. I'll say something.
Thanks, Councilman Tyson.
Thank you, Councilman Remy. I'm appreciative of you bringing this resolution to the body, and I'm certainly in support of it. As Council President Hardin just read at the beginning of the meeting, certainly the numbers of individuals in our community that are no longer here, as well as other individuals who are still contracting this disease, that any and everything that we can do to try to eliminate individuals from getting this illness is something that is important to, I know, this body. And so I, again, would just ask individuals to as you said, not only to think of themselves and think of their family members and think of our community and mask up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. Anyone else?
I think you got it.
Okay. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Resolution is adopted.
I also would like to announce our next community work hours virtually, which will be next Thursday, May 28th. And those hours, we're going to have those at noon to 1. Information will be put out by council through council email as well as on our social media pages. So hopefully you can join us. It's a good opportunity to share concerns. We always take compliments as well. But certainly are here to help. And so if you have the opportunity, we ask you to join us next Thursday, 12 to 1, virtual, I almost said happy, virtual community hour. A little bit early for that. I'll join this later this week. Thanks so much. That's all I have this evening.
Councilmember Tyson.
Council President, I don't have a resolution, but I have an announcement. Before I make my announcement, I know that Anita Clark from Columbus Public Health is in our virtual chamber this evening. And I think she wants to share some information around restaurant guidance. Anita, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council Member Tyson. I do want to just share some of the hard work that our Environmental Health Division completed since the opening of the patios last week. We did through the weekend work to do 158 compliance checks. We gave 10 warnings, and then we also had one bar that we did refer to the city attorney's office. We really have commended our restaurants. A majority of them were in compliance. We will be messaging out this week and providing guidance to our restaurants to ensure that they are in great compliance come the opening on the 21st, when restaurants will be opening up again. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to entertain those right now.
That's just the view. I have it on. Should I mute chamber?
Yes.
Okay. You were asking her. This is the view I have on right now.
Yeah, that's just the view. That's the speaker view with.
I think Mark likes this one.
Yeah, just because I don't like the extra crap.
Okay, and that's what I think I did the last time, and it was like.
We can hear the other people speaking. So if there aren't any other questions for Anita, thank you, Anita. I just appreciate your team for the effort, the effort that you put in this past weekend going out. This weekend coming up is Memorial Day weekend. And I would just ask that our restaurant owners, heed the guidance of Columbus Public Health. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
And the other announcement I have is that as we are navigating the challenges of COVID-19, in recent weeks, the coroner has reported an increase in opioid deaths. Yes, yeah, in opioid deaths. And it is also reported by the dispatch that the health officials believe that the virus may have brought on additional drug abuse as well as add stress that can trigger a relapse. And so with that, I want to, considering the increase in deaths and drug abuse, I want to highlight SafePoint, which offers harm reduction services provided by Equitas Health. And tonight we have legislation in the Health and Human Services Committee to fund SafePoint in the amount of $242,000 that will be on consent. And this program allows clients who are at high risk of accidental overdose death to access the life-saving drug naloxone and to receive risk reduction counseling, referrals to alcohol and drug treatment, and overdose prevention education. You can, to access SafePoint, you can visit them at 1267 West Broad Street, and they're open Tuesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. and Saturday from 9 to 1 p.m. Additionally, if you have a loved one who is experiencing mental health and substance abuse related emergency, please call NetCare Access Crisis Hotline at 614-276-CARE or 614-276-2273, or the Opiate Crisis Hotline at 614-724-HOPE or 4673. Thank you. That's all I have in my announcements this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. And finally, I'm going to read a resolution from the floor. It is Resolution 0087X-2020, and it's to support fair, direct federal emergency support to rebuild local American economies. This resolution is part of the city's Our Essential campaign, which is being led by the National League of Cities. We know that cities big and small will experience budgetary impacts because of COVID-19, especially in Ohio, due to municipal reliance on income tax. While Columbus received some restricted funds this evening, our fellow cities in Ohio have not received federal assistance to help deal with the significant economic fallout because of COVID-19. Current federal assistance to cities is laden with different restrictions and cannot replace lost revenue or existing expenses. Federal funding must be flexible and address not only the additional expenses incurred by communities to respond to the pandemic as an emergency, but also the dramatic budgetary shortfalls resulting from pauses in commerce, tourism, other economic engines. Columbus calls on Congress to allocate fair and direct federal support to all America's communities, regardless of population size, and work with cities to protect vulnerable families. I think it's really important just to point out that if we want to bring the economy back, it's going to be cities working with our residents in our community to be the ones to do that work. And so we are very appreciative of the advocacy of our local delegation in the first round of support that the city will talk about this evening and pass legislation on. But it's just really important to remember that this is having an amazing financial impact on our residents, and thus our ability as a city in cities around our state and around the country to respond to that. We will need continued support. This is not a short-term thing. We will be dealing with this for a while going forward. So I just ask support by my colleagues. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Councilman Remy.
You know, we've been doing a lot of work around these funds and continue to advocate for additional funds for communities like Columbus as well as other communities across the country. I think the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, said it best last night on 60 Minutes that, you know, this is a time where we have significant work to do to support small businesses so to make sure that they're not losing their businesses and that homeowners are not losing their homes as a result of you know, this crisis. And so, you know, very supportive of our continued advocacy as it relates to these funds. This is a time where, like you said, many people are hurting. This is a time where this is needed the most. And I'm excited about a lot of the things that we're working on in the session we have to pass tonight. So we support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Seeing no further, President Pro Tem, please.
Thank you. You know, I want to thank you for offering the resolution, and I'm very proud to support it. Columbus was the only state in Ohio the only city in Ohio to receive CARES Act funding. And this resolution that we're supporting expanded funding for all cities equally in the country, but importantly our state, I think is an important recognition by us that we do rise and fall together in the state of Ohio. You know, I am very glad that CARES Act funding is made available for us to help our residents in our city through this. But there is no reason that we should have that funding and others shouldn't. And actually, we will all do better if we all do better. So thank you, Council President, for offering this.
That's awesome. Thank you, President Pro Tem.
Thank you. No, President Hardin, I just want to I appreciate the work of the National League of Cities. And because even though we have individuals here who are certainly at the national level that are focused on trying to help our cities to move forward, but the National League of Cities is focused on cities and townships across this country and advocating for us to be able to receive those dollars. So it's wonderful to have an organization in DC that has relationships with our congressional members to be able to think about focusing on our work each and every day. And that's why it's so important for our city to be a member of the National League of Cities, because they certainly are important to helping us to move not only our country forward, but certainly our city forward. So I'm in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Resolution is adopted. Are there any comments by our elected officials? Let's see, we have Auditor Kilgore, our treasurer with us. I think I saw Judge Barrows is with us as well. Judge, welcome back to council.
Thank
Are
you.
there any-
Thank you, Council President.
Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of 30 legislation by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance of numbers of 30-day legislation?
Finance Committee, ordinances 922, 1017, 1095, and 1097-2020. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinance 908-2020. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 716, 1008, 1034, 1041, 1064, and 1071-2020. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 1162 and 1163-2020. Housing Committee, ordinance 1169-2020. And Economic Development Committee, ordinance 1124-2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those ordinances in the record?
Resolution of Expression 84X-2020, Finance Committee, ordinances 1005, 1052, 1072, 1077, 1085, 1096, 1153, and 1198-2020. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 915, 1088, 1126, and 1199-2020. Education Committee, ordinance 951-2020. Public Safety Committee, ordinances 996, 1027, 1033, 1070, and 1100-2020. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 890, 906, 907, 924, 926, 929, 931, 933, 934, 935, 937, 939, 948, 962, 965, 966, 968, 971, 972, and 992-2020. Neighborhoods Committee, ordinance 1011-2020 and 1014-2020. Technology Committee, ordinance 1138-2020. Public Service and Transportation Committee, resolution 80X-2020, ordinances 925, 978, 1035, 1039, 1089, 1098-2020. Housing Committee, ordinances 1068, 1075, 1093, and 1161-2020. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinances 1059, 1060, and 1061-2020. Economic Development Committee, ordinances 1047, 1048, 1108, 1112-2020. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 749, 1050, 1094, 1113, 1127-2020. Small Minority Business Committee, resolution 66X, 67, 68, 69, and 70X-2020. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0050, 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55-2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent action? Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, with the exception of 1112-2020, on which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes, with the exception of 1061-2020 and 1094-2020, on which I am abstaining. Thank you.
President Hardin?
Yes. Consent actions carry with the noted exceptions. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day table and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember President Pro Tem Brown. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Our first ordinance in finance is 0909-2020. Authorize the Finance and Management Director on behalf of the Fleet Management Division to establish purchase orders with record properties from a previously established universal term contract for the purchase of vehicles for use by the Division of Police, and to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $1 million from the Special Income Tax Fund. This purchase order is for approximately 50 pre-owned vehicles unmarked for the Division of Police. These vehicles will replace high mileage and high maintenance vehicles currently being used by the division. Record Properties successfully bid and was awarded the pre-owned vehicles by UTC being utilized by this ordinance. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson. President Hardin?
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1129-2020 to authorize the acceptance and appropriation of $156,790,569.40 in funding from the U.S. Treasury as a result of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or CARES Act, to establish the CARES Act Fund and to declare an emergency. The COVID-19 pandemic has shocked our global economy, and our local economy is no different. As we respond in part through the allocation of these federal dollars, it is vital to remember that unemployment data is not just numbers in a news article. They represent the families and small businesses who are navigating a sudden and very uncertain new normal. We know that the challenges we face are exacerbated by the racial and socioeconomic inequities that left many families behind even before the first case of COVID-19 in our city. The economic pain that our residents are enduring or will endure must be front and center in all our decision-making as we respond locally to this crisis, including, and especially so, the allocation of these CARES Act dollars. As we begin planning for the use of the dollars, the city will divide funds into buckets. $80 million for direct spending for COVID-19 expenses, such as medical expenses for testing or EMS response, personal protective equipment. $51 million for human services, such as assistance for housing and food insecurity. $26 million to address economic impacts that will go towards things such as small business assistance. I want to thank Councilmember Faber for her work designating $3 million of these CARES Act funds to address housing, evictions, and homelessness, which will be covered in more detail through additional ordinances later in this meeting. Thank you to Director Lombardi and the finance team, finance office, who worked extremely hard to ensure that we could get to this point, who have much hard work ahead of them still as well. I also want to thank Auditor Kilgore for her efforts to ensure that we got here tonight with this funding. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move to. Oh, sorry, I couldn't. It's so hard to see.
I'm sorry, Chairwoman Brown. I just really want to first of all, I appreciate your work and all the elected officials' work that have helped to bring these dollars to our community. But I really want to focus on our health and human services. Our health and human service partners play a critical role in providing safety net services to Columbus residents. Social service agencies have continued to operate through this COVID-19 pandemic. Many organizations have seen increased need with basic services such as food and housing. Similar to other industries, we understand that many programs in this sector are doing more with less. Organizations have lost substantial revenue. They've had to furlough and lay off employees and find new ways of operating in order to sustain their programs. As we welcome the $51 million we'll provide to the human service sector and those in need of services, we must think about those that have been hit the hardest by this crisis. The economic ramifications of this crisis are substantial and will continue to be a challenge for many of our residents. It was reported by the New York Times and also Bloomberg News that 39% of workers who have been furloughed are households that are earning $40,000 or less. And 58% total between the 40,000 and those making 50,000 is 19%. So 58% of individuals are making less than $50,000. A new Federal Reserve survey shows many families have few resources to make it through. Our social services partners have been filling in the gaps, so those who have limited means went to the grocery store to stock up on food, and families with limited resources had to utilize the food pantries. Further, according to research, we know that women are more likely to have lost their job or their income. Because this pandemic, in terms of people being furloughed, are individuals that either from the leisure, hospitality, healthcare industries, and education. And the majority of those, I guess, are women and minorities. And so as we begin to think about the use of the dollars that we have, we need to be aware of the significant racial disparities and the disproportionate impact of that on Black people, Black and brown individuals. With that said, as programs are being considered for funding, it's my hope that the decisions that we make will look at the data to think about women and minorities and making sure that those nonprofit organizations that are supporting them are organizations that are certainly going to be supported with these CARES Act. And I'm very pleased that I'm working with Don Tyler Lee from the Deputy Director of the Deputy of Staff, in Mayor Ginther's cabinet, to be working with her and her team as we look to how we're going to spend these dollars. And again, I'm so happy that we have these dollars because you can see that we are certainly in need of those who support our families. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Council Member. I was just reading that the unemployment rate among women is the highest it's ever been. And it's the worst for highest for African American and Latinx women. Thank you for those really important comments. Are there other questions? And say something audibly because I can't always see the thumbnail.
Yeah, Principal Tim, I have a comment.
Council President.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the folks that worked on this so far. The mayor, our auditor, our city attorney, and certainly our entire congressional delegation that worked hard to get these dollars to our city. Just want to note, I mean, $156,000 sounds like a lot of money, and it actually is a lot of money. But if we really are serious with ourselves and we think about the depth of this crisis and the depth of the need that our families out there are going to experience, not over just the next month or two, but over the next year, really, and longer. This is really just the beginning. And so I think, Chair, you alluded that this is the beginning of the work, not the end of the work. This is literally just the beginning. And so we'll need the entire community to come together, stack hands as we make sure that these initial resources are leveraged in the correct way so that we don't just manage through this, which would be a good thing for certain families who are really struggling, but that we come out on the other side stronger and more equitable than we were when we started. So just appreciate everybody's work. Let's roll up our sleeves, everyone, as a community, as we start this conversation about how we move forward and continue to keep us strong and make us an even better city. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Council President. Very well said. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. We'll now move to Recreation and Parks Committee with your permission, Council President.
Please.
In Rec and Parks, we have ordinance 0918-2020 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into contract with the Ryder Company Incorporated for the construction of the Alum Creek Trail, Johnstown Road East Side Connector, and with CTL Engineering Incorporated for professional construction management and inspection services for this project. To authorize the city auditor to appropriate $1,826,063.89 to the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund, to authorize the transfer of $743,402.98 between projects within the Recreation and Parks Bond Fund, to amend the 2019 Capital Improvements Budget Ordinance 1326-2019 to authorize the expenditure of $2,569,466.87 from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund and Voted Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. The department was awarded federal grant funding from MORPC, administered by the Ohio Department of Transportation for this project. A 1-mile connector will be constructed from the Alum Creek Trail near Ohio Dominican University to Johnstown Road and Cassidy Avenue. More than 4,000 residents will be within a 10-minute walk of this trail connector, which will open up access to more than 126 miles of regional trail network. The project includes separated trail and bike lanes, modifications to an existing bridge, other safety improvements. Additional work will add walking and biking improvements along Johnstown Road, 10th Avenue, connecting to Crum Park and William Adams Community Center. Emergency action is being considered to meet the ODOT requirement that the construction contract and grant funding be encumbered by May 14th, 2020. I also know that many of us are very excited by the opportunity to do more outdoors. And I am grateful to the Recreation and Parks Department for constantly finding ways to connect our residents with recreation outside, even in these socially distant times. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Next, in Rec and Parks, Ordinance 1067-2020 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into contract with Direct Instructional Support Systems doing business as Super Games for mobile game rental services, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the City Code, Chapter 329, to authorize the expenditure of $57,645 from the Rec and Parks Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The contract is this contract is for mobile gaming services in support of the city's Cap City Nights event through the summer. Cap City Nights Summer Festival Series helps empower neighborhoods by bringing together residents and churches and service providers and business owners in a positive environment to build trust and a stronger sense of community. Festival events include free food, live entertainment, and a host of games and activities for the entire family. And this ordinance authorizes the contract to provide entertainment at these events. Competitive bidding is being waived because Direct Instructional Support Systems is the only organization in Central Ohio that provides these mobile gaming services. Importantly, I will note in the event that these events need to be canceled due to ongoing COVID-19 health concerns, this funding will not be used. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. My final ordinance is 1069-20 to authorize and direct the Director of Recreation and Parks to accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Education in the amount of $2,500,000 for the 2020 Summer Food Program. To authorize the appropriation of $2,500,000 to the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund 2283. To authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into an agreement with Columbus City Schools in the amount of $2,300,000 for the preparation and delivery of meals for the summer food program. To authorize the expenditure of $2,300,000 from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund 2283 and to declare an emergency. The summer food program is administered by the USDA through Ohio Department of Education. It represents a partnership between Rec and Parks and CCS to provide healthy breakfasts, lunches, and snacks to children in need during summer months. The program will serve approximately 195,000 breakfast meals, 340,000 lunch meals, and 95,000 snacks. Thousands of children will be served through this program at 240 sites throughout the greater Columbus area. Although the closure of schools in response to COVID-19 created the need to deliver meals even before this program began, the principle remains the same. Hunger doesn't end when summer starts, and learning doesn't stop either, which is why the summer food program is so important and why we're considering legislation here tonight to support it. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you, President Hardin. That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Public Safety, we have 11/22/2020 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into an amended agreement with Bell Helicopter Technology, Inc. for the purchase and installation of autopilot, air conditioner, and avionic shelves and the Bell 407 GXI helicopter for the Division of Police, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure of $280,100 from the Law Enforcement Contraband Seizure Fund, and to declare an emergency. This purchase is requested to be made with a waiver of competitive bidding to ensure compatibility with the Bell helicopter that currently exists and prevent further delay in delivery. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
President Hardin, I would like to introduce an ordinance from the floor. This ordinance 1083/2020 to authorize and direct the Director of Public Safety to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Ohio, Department of Natural Resources, Division of Watercraft, and to accept a grant of $29,649.68 on behalf of the City of Columbus and Division of Police to transfer $9,883.23 within the general fund from 01 to 10 to transfer $9,883.23 from the general fund to the general government grant fund to appropriate $39,532.91 from the unappropriated balance of the general government grant fund to the Division of Police for the operation of a 2020 Marine Patrol program, and to declare an emergency. This particular legislation is a continuation of an existing grant, sir. If there are no questions from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
Council President, may I move on to Veterans and Senior Affairs?
Please.
We have tonight also 10/13/2020 to authorize and direct the Director of Recreation and Parks to modify and extend the contract with HER LLC for building management and maintenance services for the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging for an additional 12 months beginning July 1st, 2020 to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $370,000 or so that much thereof from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. The request for competitive bidding, this contract is requested to enter into with a waiver of competitive bidding as the local state emergency has made it difficult to have a new purchase order established without a lapse in service. HER LLC has committed to extend the original bid price for 1 additional year. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Yes. Or second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Hardin?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Also, I have 11/47/2020 to authorize an appropriation in the amount of $1,076,132 to the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund for the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging in connection with the Older Americans Act Title III, Congregate and Home Delivered Meals, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Hardin?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Also, I have 11/48/2020 in conjunction with the previous legislation to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into a supplemental contracts with 7 community agencies to provide nutrition services to older adults in Central Ohio, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,076,132 from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. Again, if there are no questions from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Hardin?
Yes, ordinances are passed.
President Hardin, that is all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Dorrance. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before I get into legislation this evening, I'd like to point out that the Department of Public Utilities, through this committee, is awarding more than $4.7 million to multiple female-owned businesses as contractors this evening. This is not necessarily unusual, as we've worked with all these contractors in the past, but something Director Davies and myself are proud to make note of as the City of Columbus continues to look for ways to support female and minority businesses. Just a good note to start off the committee with tonight. First ordinance is 0923-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a professional construction management services agreement with Pine Construction Management and Surveys for the Central College Phase 3 project, to authorize an expenditure of up to $4,134,691.25 from the Sanitary General Obligation Bond Fund, and to amend the 2019 capital improvement budget. This project will provide service to developing areas in the Central College corridor in the northeast area of Columbus. This will allow for increased tax base as well as an increased utility customer revenues. It will also create environmental benefits by providing new sanitary sewers to areas of the city that are currently served via home sanitary sewer systems, which can leak sewage into the ground and nearby streams. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin?
Next, we have ordinance number 0936-2020 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for Proline hardware, wire and cable reclosers and underground cable and accessories, to authorize the expenditure of $1 million from the Electricity Operating Fund. This purchase will be used on the divisions of Power's electrical distribution systems to serve new and existing customers, as well as replenish stock for maintenance of existing infrastructure. Do all my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 0944-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter an agreement with ACOM Technical Services, Inc. for the Big Walnut Outfill Sewer Rehabilitation Project and authorizing expenditure of up to $1,276,471.60 from the Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund. Inspections have revealed that the Big Walnut Outfill Sewer is in need of repair in the far south planning area. This project will rehabilitate almost 3,000 feet of reinforced concrete pipe and associated manholes as necessary to reduce the overall risk to the sanitary sewer collection system by rehabilitating one of our city's most critical assets. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 09550-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction management agreement with Marsh Wagner for the Intermodal Sanitary Subtrunk Extension Project, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of up to $953,856.71 within, and the expenditure of up to $3,950,398.71 from the Sanitary General Obligation Bond Fund, and to authorize an amendment to the 2019 capital improvement budget. The Intermodal Sanitary Sewer Subtrunk Extension, sorry, that's a bit of a mouthful, project was initiated in response to a commercial and industrial growth associated with the Northern Pickaway County Joint Economic Development District. The subtrunk will provide sanitary sewer service to approximately 4,374 acres within the JED tributary service area. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
And now I have ordinance number 0963-2020 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to renew the professional engineering services agreement with MS Consultants, Inc. for the watershed miscellaneous improvements Hoover Dam Part 1 project for the Division of Water, to authorize a transfer and expenditure of up to $1,299,900 within the Water General Obligation Bond Fund, and to authorize an amendment to the 2019 capital improvement budget. This project will make improvements at the dam. Pretty straightforward. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. I just wanted to check in first, since it's now 6:25. Do we want to break for recess for zoning?
You know what? I think if you can make it through your Public Service Committee, and then we'll stop after that.
Sounds good. Up first in Public Service and Transportation, we have ordinance number 1051-2020 to amend the 2019 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of cash and appropriation within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to appropriate funds within the Federal Transportation Grants Fund, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Decker Construction for the intersection Morse Road at Sunbury project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,521,982.90 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, up to $142,691.12 from the Water General Obligation Bond Fund, and up to $506,670.29 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund to pay for the project and to declare an emergency. This contract work includes the milling the existing pavement, overlaying with new asphalt concrete, minor curb replacement, pedestrian safety improvements, bike lanes, and replacing curb and sidewalk associated with installing an ADA ramp. Where warranted, the plans also call for a full depth pavement repair. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? I would move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Up next, we have ordinance number 1103-2020 to appropriate funds within the General Government Grants Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into professional services contract with Paul Worth Associates for the intersection Cleveland Avenue Pedestrian Safety Outreach Project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $300,000 from the General Government Grants Fund to pay for the contract and to declare an emergency. I'd like to turn it over to Director Gallagher to talk a little bit more about this project, as well as how it ties to the city's recently announced Vision Zero program and goals. Director Gallagher?
Thank you, Council Member Favor. Hello, other council members. This grant-funded safety awareness campaign will focus on educating the public to reduce the number of pedestrian-involved crashes along the Cleveland Avenue corridor. Between 2012 and 2017, 92 pedestrian crashes and 3 fatalities occurred in this location. Initially, the outreach efforts will focus on reducing these crashes by raising pedestrian safety awareness among people who live and commute along Cleveland Avenue between 5th Avenue and Leonard Road. Later, more outreach efforts will educate the public about specific pedestrian safety improvements to be constructed starting in 2023 along Cleveland Avenue. These planned ODOT safety funded improvements include adding crosswalks and rapid flashing beacons or pedestrian hybrid beacons that alert motorists to pedestrians crossing the street. This critical pedestrian safety project is an example of the kind of transportation and pedestrian safety improvements likely to result from the city's Vision Zero Columbus initiative. As you know, Mayor Ginther announced in March the launch of this bold safety initiative to make human lives the highest priority of the Columbus transportation system. The Department of Public Service is working across many city departments and with our external partners to make the system safer for all users, including drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, and transit users. We are fundamentally changing how we look at our transportation system through strategic, data-driven approaches to engineering, enforcement, education, evaluation, equity, and community engagement. We are establishing the framework and planning community engagement opportunities to help us develop a Vision Zero Columbus action plan by the end of the year. Right now, residents can go to the map at columbus.gov/Vision Zero to mark locations that they think pose transportation safety concerns. While there, take the survey on the website as well. Help us achieve the Vision Zero Columbus goal of 0 traffic fatalities and serious injuries from crashes. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of Council.
Thank you, Director Gallagher. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. And last in public service, we have ordinance number 1121-2020 to amend the 2019 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of cash and appropriation between projects within the Storm Sewer Bond Fund, the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, the Development Taxable Bonds Fund, the Northland Acquisitions Fund, and the General Permanent Improvement Non-Bond Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with George J. Eigel and Company for the Miscellaneous Economic Development Confluence Village Public Infrastructure Project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $9,268,532.93 from the Storm Sewer Bond Fund the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, the Development Taxable Bonds Fund, the Northland and Other Acquisitions Fund, and the General Permanent Improvement Non-Bond Fund to pay for the project and to declare an emergency. The scope of work for this project consists of constructing 4 new roadways north of Nationwide Boulevard between the Olentangy River and Hocking Street to support development in the area. These new roadways will consist of new pavement, concrete curbs, brick and asphalt sidewalks, street trees, new water main, storm sewer, underground electric distribution, street lighting, sanitary sewer, and a multi-user telecom duct bank. Nationwide Boulevard will be widened to 3 lanes from Hocking Street to the western terminus. This road widening will include new pavement, brick sidewalk, raised planter beds, and modification to the storm sewer. The project work will also include the installation of a new storm sewer designed to outlet storm water for the entire development. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you, President Hardin.
With that, may I have a motion to recess, council?
So moved.
And second, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
Council is recessed. Chair Tyson, how comfortable are we just rolling? You good to go?
Very.
Very, all right. All right. Well, we're gonna roll right into zoning then. Regular meeting number 21 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Okay. Ordinance 1081, 2020 is to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.039 R4 Residential District, 3321.05 B1 Vision Clearance, 3332.15 R4 Area District Requirements, 3332.21 Building Lines, 3332.25 Maximum Side Yards Required, 3332.26 F Minimum Side Yard Permitted, 3332.27 Rear Yard, 3332.29 Height District, and 3332.38 C private garage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 994 North 6th Street to permit two-unit dwellings and an accessory garage on one lot with reduced development standards in the R4 residential district. The applicant is Juliet Bullock Architects. The proposed use is two-unit dwellings and a private garage on one lot. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Italian Village Commission's recommendation is approval, 7-0. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move to amend to emergency.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
Amend it.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, present, Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 1092-2020 to rezone Bethel Road, being 3.83 acres located on the north side of Bethel Road, 350 feet west of Olentangy River Road, from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is the Olentangy Square LP. Agent is Charlie Frost. The proposed use is to add dumpsters to existing commercial development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Northwest Civic Association's recommendation is approval 10-0. If there are no questions or comments, I first move to waive second reading.
Second.
Please call the roll. Waive.
Thank you. And now I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll. Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 1118-2020. It's to amend ordinance number 3328-2019, passed January 13th of 2020, for property located at 1145 Chambers Road by repealing Section 1 in its entirety and replacing it with a new Section 1, thereby correcting the zoning district of the subject's property from AR2 Apartment Residential District to AR3 Apartment Residential District. This again is an ordinance amendment. The proposed use is to update text regarding an incorrect AR2 designation. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the 5th by Northwest Area Commission's recommendation is approval 4-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move to waive second reading.
Second.
Call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Waive.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. That concludes zoning this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing no further business in the zoning committee, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
We stand adjourned. Council members, do we need to take a break? We're going to take a 2-minute break, please, very quickly. It was Remy.
Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
All right, regular meeting number 20 has reconvened. We'll go back to the Housing Committee. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. Tonight in Housing, we have ordinance number 1101-2020 to amend the Linden Community Reinvestment Area and to modify its geographic boundaries. This ordinance amends ordinance number 2189-2018 to expand the existing Linden Community Reinvestment Area boundaries and extend real property tax exemptions for residentially zoned parcels within the expanded boundaries. The need exists to expand the current boundaries to encourage new housing construction and the repair of existing facilities or structures. The project associated with the CRA expansion is Kinlawn, a 45-unit multifamily and 5 single-family 9% LIHTC project led by Homeport. This project is 100% affordable with incomes ranging between 30% AMI to 80% AMI for a project average of 60% AMI. Director Stevens, are there any additional comments you'd like to make at this time?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Favor, members of council. I would just note that we're expanding this boundary from Weber Road north up to Oakland Park. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues at this time? Seeing none, I would move for passage.
Second. Please call the roll.
Brown Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 1105-2020 to create the Grandview Crossing Community Reinvestment Area and to authorize real property tax exemptions as authorized by sections 3735.65 to 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code. The ordinance will create the Grandview Crossing Community Reinvestment Area and provide for real property tax exemptions within the area in accordance with sections 3735.65 to 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code. This ordinance will provide for exemptions from increases in real property taxation resulting from the construction of new housing, the conversion of buildings from commercial use to residential use, and the renovation of existing single and multifamily housing units within the established boundaries. The project associated with the CRA is being developed by Wagenbrenner. A former unregulated landfill will be transformed into a mixed-use development, including 100,000 square foot Class A office space, 260 senior living units, and 900 multifamily units, a 120-key hotel, and 29,000 square feet of retail. The city entered into an economic development agreement in December of 2017 to support the redevelopment of this site. The apartments will include 206 affordable units with 103 units at 100% AMI and 103 units at 80% AMI when completed. Director Stevens, are there any additional comments you'd like to make at this time?
Director, I think you're still on mute.
He's got one job.
One job. I apologize. As we discussed last week during the public hearing, with regards to this CRA and other housing CRAs, we determine our boundaries based on data, and we follow census tracts. So the boundary for this market-ready site is based on Census Tract 85, but only the City of Columbus portion. I'd be happy to answer any questions and stay off mute.
Thank you, Director Stevens, for that clarification. I do believe we have one speaker that is in chambers with us. Joe Motil, are you present?
Yep, you're ready. It's a little bit of a delay, but we're.
Good afternoon, Mr. Motil.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Great, thank you. President Hardin, Pro Tem Brown, Chair Favor. Joe Motil, 167 West Cook Road, Columbus, Ohio. At a time when people are struggling to survive, the mayor must be out of his mind for making such a proposal at this time. And anyone who supports these two CRAs is displaying a total lack of sensitivity and neglect to the overall needs of this community by giving away millions of dollars of crucial property tax revenues. The mayor and the city council is acting as if nothing has happened over the last 2.5 months, and it is business as usual here at City Hall. It appears that you view property tax revenues as non-essential to the needs of Columbus citizens. County Commissioner John O'Grady recently stated, and I quote, "The number of our neighbors who are struggling financially is staggering. And just as the need for government services grows, the resources available to provide those services via sales, property, and income taxes are diminishing," end quote. And this comes when Columbus Public Schools will be losing an additional $9.2 million of state revenue. Yet the mayor and the city council continue to recklessly slash much needed revenue that serves the needs of the city's most vulnerable by trading tax abatements for campaign contributions. The second most economically segregated city in America, whose citizens pay the fourth highest overall taxes in the U.S. and a 30% foreclosure rate in Franklin County due to folks not being able to pay their escalating property taxes, you're going to continue giving away property taxes in these two risk-free development areas and then try to claim that by doing so, these tax abatements are some kind of a trade-off that helps address our affordable housing crisis. The two projects will create just over 300 housing units for those making an annual income of about $47,000 to $60,000. I don't see how either of these projects helps to address our segregated housing problem in Columbus when the average annual income for Blacks and Browns is roughly $37,500. These housing developments and projects are for serving this city's many other multiple tax abatement recipients and campaign contributing corporations and businesses. It's time you recognize the correlation between our city's 20% poverty rate and the 29.9% poverty rate amongst Blacks and your failed tax abatement policies that lose millions in property tax revenue to educate our children, assist seniors, and other important mental health and social services. The Grandview CRA is prime real estate that is adjacent to the affluent suburb of Grandview Heights. The eastern boundary of this CRA is 1.5 miles from Broad High. The ongoing gentrified neighborhood of Franklinton is about 1 mile away, and the new Confluence Village and Crew Stadium project is within sniffing distance. $4.2 million, 75% 10-year tax abatement that Wagon Brenner received in January for their Grandview Crossing project has now been upped to 100% 15-year giveaway. I guess well over $100,000 in campaign contributions to City Hall officials from Wagon Brenner Associates since 2014 carries a long weight with its policy decisions on tax abatements. This is a perfect example of how the politics of City Hall equates to corruption. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Motil. Are there any comments from my colleagues? Director Stevens, did you have any response?
Thank you, Chair Favor, President Hardin, member of City Council. I just want to clarify that this is an abatement only for the housing project at 15-year 100%. We are not increasing the 10-year 75% abatement that Council approved earlier on the office space. I'd also like to point out that although we're going through this health crisis, the impact on what made Columbus a positive economic development destination for investment throughout the country has not changed. We still have our workforce, our location, and our competitive cost of doing business. So we're looking forward to seeing not only this affordable housing or this mixed-use development, but also the 100,000 square feet of additional office space. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Stevens. And also, can you clarify the city's, the timeline on review for the city's current incentive review policy?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We will be reviewing our housing incentive policy during 2021. So we are in the last year of our 3-year implementation period.
Thank you. And seeing no additional questions from my colleagues, I would move for passage.
Councilmember Dorans had a comment.
Oh, sorry. I've got the deaf triangles up. I can't see anybody right now. My apologies.
No problem, Councilmember Favor. Thanks for the assist, Councilmember Remy. Director Stevens, Councilmember Favor mentioned this in her comments about the location of this property being the subject of a former unregulated landfill. Obviously, that adds, I think, from my understanding, a uniqueness to, again, how to encourage development in an area that has had that kind of past usage. I was wondering if you could speak to that as far as potentially why the city is looking to assist this kind of project based upon that kind of additional cost being associated with the project that's had that kind of past history.
Thank you, Councilmember Dorans. That's correct. Anytime you take a site that was a brownfield that had some significant remediation issues, there's an extensive level of investment into that development, and we worked with the developer to meet our public policy priorities, but also take a site that was sitting vacant for an extended period of time and have it contributable to our economic prosperity.
Thank you, Director Stevens.
And one more question for me, Director Stevens. I think it's important to underscore that this CRA, the development of the CRA, is not for the benefit of solely one entity. Correct? That any individual, a homeowner who seeks to improve their property can also take advantage of said tax incentives. Correct?
That is correct. If there's an existing structure in a tax abated area where the existing homeowner is making an investment into that property, they will be able to take advantage of the abatement as well.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions from my colleagues? Please speak out loud because the triangles are still up. All right, seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 1106-2020 to create the Quarry Community Reinvestment Area and to authorize real property tax exemptions as authorized by sections 3735.65, 6.65 to 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code. At this time, I would move to table the ordinance until June 1st.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is tabled to June 1st.
Hey.
The second one, 1106. Yeah. You saw that code? No. It is tabled. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Next, we have the last CRA 1107-2020 to create the Northland Community Reinvestment Area and to authorize real property tax exemptions as authorized by sections 3735.65 to 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code. This ordinance will create the Northland Community Reinvestment Area and provide for real property tax exemptions within the area in accordance with sections 3735.65 to 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code. The ordinance will provide for exemptions from increases in real property taxation resulting from the construction of new housing, the conversion of buildings from commercial use to residential use, and the renovation of existing single and multifamily housing units within the established boundaries. National Church Residences will develop Northland Gate, a 94-unit senior housing, 9% LIHTC project. The project is 100% affordable, with incomes ranging between 30% AMI to 80% AMI for a project average of 60% AMI. Are there any additional questions? Dr. Stevens, anything you would like to make comments you would like to make at this time?
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Technical difficulties. Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Pass.
Okay, wonderful. The next three ordinances represent $3 million in CARES Act funding we accepted just a few moments ago. That will go directly towards helping Columbus families weather the housing challenges presented by COVID-19 pandemic. There have been over 1,200 evictions filed since the court stopped hearings in March. and that number is expected to grow as the court prepares to reopen on June 1st. We cannot allow families in our community to be displaced during this time when staying home allows people to stay safe. That's why we have been working closely with our housing partners across the city to fully understand the emergency needs of our community and develop a plan to utilize these dollars from the CARES Act to provide direct assistance to our residents. These dollars represent a short-term plan to begin addressing the immediate need of our community. We know that more will be needed in the coming months as we continue to fight the pandemic. First up, we have ordinance number 1207-2020 to authorize the transfer of $100,000 in Fund 2207 from the Department of Finance and Management to the Department of Development to authorize the expenditure of up to $100,000 in the Department of Development to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a contract with Community Mediation Services for an amount of up to $100,000 for its housing stability homeless prevention program, to authorize payment of expenses starting March 1st, 2020, and to declare an emergency. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Shelley Whalen to talk about the work Community Mediation Services will do to assist families. Shelley?
Is not cooperating tonight. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. On behalf of Community Mediation, want to thank the city for providing us additional funding over this next several months to help us expand our housing stability and homelessness prevention services. First, this program has two primary elements. First of all, it'll provide 1,500 low-income tenants and their landlords who are involved in eviction-related disputes with free access to CMS's extensively trained impartial mediators who will help them resolve their conflict in a manner that's acceptable to both parties, while also providing the tenant with the greatest capacity to maintain stable housing for the long term. Second, it'll provide 650 low-income tenants with a 2-hour eviction prevention education workshop. This training is also free to participants and is designed to help them better understand the 10 most common mistakes they tend to make that can often lead to eviction and how best to prevent those situations from ever occurring in the first place. With the city's additional support, we'll be able to hire 2 additional staff, so we'll then have 9 mediators available to help resolve scores of additional tenant-landlord conflicts by phone before and after an eviction is filed, as well as on-site every day at eviction court, beginning again on June 1st when it opens. The city's additional funding will also allow us to expand our technical capacity to begin providing our eviction prevention workshops virtually in cooperation with the...
I think she's...
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Please
Oh,
continue.
that's okay. I just want to make sure you can still hear me. Okay. So we're going to do our workshops virtually in cooperation with a number of human service providers who host those workshops in the community regularly on a monthly basis. By way of our positive results, 85% of our mediation program participants reach a voluntary win-win resolution to their dispute. And this is after a decade of providing this program. So we have lots of documented evidence of its value. And after 1 year, 86% of our tenant participants are still in stable housing and have had no subsequent evictions. And finally, perhaps one of the most beneficial elements of our program is that it will help prevent hundreds of families from becoming unnecessarily homeless. And we'll do that at a fraction of what it would cost to allow them to lose their housing, enter an emergency shelter, and then have to be rehoused all over again. We thank the city again for its increased support and look forward to helping as many families as we possibly can in the critical months ahead. Thanks very much. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Shelley. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for, okay. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
And Council President Hardin, I apologize. We actually had a speaker for that one. Noel Williams, are you on the, my apologies. Noel?
Do we see Noel on?
See, Noel Williams. Okay.
Yeah, let's keep on.
Okay. The next ordinance up, we have.
I think she had written testimony. Is it written?
Hold on.
Yes, yes. I'm unmuted now.
Oh, there she goes.
She's back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Noelle, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the BREAD organization. I also serve on BREAD's Housing Committee. Before the pandemic, we were concerned about the housing needs of the thousands of low-income families struggling to access and retain safe, decent, affordable housing. We've been pressing for more housing solutions since 2018. 54,000 low-income families in Franklin County have to spend more than half of their income on a place to live, in which I'm sure many of you are aware of. This is awful. They work at restaurants, retail centers, and in daycares. In fact, before the pandemic, 8 of the 10 most common jobs in the Columbus area paid less than $35,000. They are single parents, adults with disabilities, recent college graduates, and senior citizens. They were struggling before the pandemic. Now things are getting worse as the very people I just mentioned find themselves without jobs or with reduced income. If they get behind in their rent or mortgage for 2 months, they could face eviction or foreclosure. The shelter system is already overwhelmed. Emergency housing assistance is desperately needed. Last week, we gathered hundreds of people on Zoom. I shared about this reality of this crisis. Since then, dozens of people have posted a letter to elected officials such as yourself. They have used the hashtag Ohio Housing Help. Your action today on the $3 million for tenant-based rental assistance is a great step. This will help hundreds of families to stay in their homes. The city should also utilize the Community Development Block Grant dollars allocated under the CARES Act. This should be used to support households that are most at risk. Building this funding vehicle now ensures we can release new funding effectively should it become available. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, and we truly appreciate your personal advocacy and your colleagues and members all across the city that advocate on behalf of BREAD and for all those residents that are in need of housing at this time. Thank you. Council President Hardin, do we need to take another vote?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 1208-2020 to authorize the transfer of $250,000 in Fund 2207 from the Department of Finance and Management to the Department of Development to authorize the expenditure of up to $250,000 in the Department of Development to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a contract with the Legal Aid Society of Columbus in an amount up to $250,000 in support of the Tenant Advocacy Project, to provide legal representation to residents facing an eviction, to authorize the payment of expenses starting March 1st, 2020, and to declare an emergency. I'd like to turn it over to Ben Horn with Legal Aid Society of Columbus to discuss the work of the Tenant Advocacy Project and how these efforts will assist families and individuals facing an eviction. Ben?
There we go.
Can people hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Favor, and good evening, council members. On behalf of the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, I'd like to express our sincere thanks for your support and for believing in the importance of our services. I especially want to thank Councilwoman Favor for her leadership in making the reduction of evictions an area of focus. The money legislated tonight is going to allow us to hire 5 attorneys for 6 months to help Columbus residents who arrive at court and are facing eviction. These attorneys will be working at our daily on-site eviction clinic that we call the Tenant Advocacy Project, or TAP. I just want to talk briefly about TAP. We started the TAP project in 2017 with 1 full-time attorney manning a folding table in the hallway of the 11th floor of the municipal court. It has since grown to 3 attorneys, a paralegal, and a social worker, also helping our attorneys from local law firms who've undergone our training in landlord-tenant law and volunteer at TAP. Tenants that receive assistance from TAP attorneys are far more likely to have their case dismissed or to successfully reach an agreement with their landlord that either allows them to stay in the property or which gives them additional time to move out and without receiving a credit-damaging eviction judgment on their record. Every morning, TAP attorneys help as many families as they can, but with eviction dockets running as high as 100 or even 200 cases per day, we reach saturation point, and it's not possible for every tenant to get a TAP attorney. And for tenants, there is no right to counsel, not yet. This funding, however, will get us closer to that goal. With 8 attorneys, TAP will be staffed like never before, and tenants will have an unprecedented opportunity to receive legal assistance at eviction court. While TAP has grown since 2017, so has the collection of agencies that come to eviction court every morning ready to help landlords and tenants find solutions to keep families housed. Beyond TAP and community mediation services, we also have Franklin County Job and Family Services. They added a desk at eviction court in 2018 so that tenants could apply for PRC emergency funding while at eviction court. Additionally, the Veterans Service Commission added an assistance desk at eviction court in 2019. And the court self-help center has blossomed since moving to the 6th floor of 375 South High and helps more people now than ever. The goal of all these organizations is the same. Let's work with the landlords and the tenants. Let's find solutions that will keep families housed, reduce displacement, and lessen the burden on the city's shelter system. Franklin County Eviction Court is organically becoming a solution-oriented community court to the assistance of all of our partners. When eviction court reopens on June 1st, there will be a backlog of evictions, and it will be busier than ever. We applaud the city for recognizing this and devoting resources to help flatten the oncoming wave of evictions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none. Yes, Council President Hardin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to applaud your leadership and legal aid on this piece of our response. As we, I think Ben, you said it right. June 1st, as court opens back up, we were concerned about a surge in evictions, and so this is part of our attempt to make sure that we get in front of that and that we partner with an agency like yourself that has been doing amazing work in our community for years to make sure that folks have the opportunity to have legal representation at one of the most trying times that folks will face when they're trying to stay in their homes. And so we just really appreciate it. I appreciate Chair Favor's staff's work and her office's work. It was many days and nights and weeks of advocacy from Councilmember Favor to get us to this point. So just appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. Are there any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Up next, we have ordinance number 1210-2020, to authorize a transfer of $2,650,000 in Fund 2207 from the Department of Finance and Management to the Department of Development, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,650,000 in the Department of Development, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a contract with Impact Community Action Agency in an amount up to $2,650,000 and to provide match funding for the HOPE Fund, to authorize payment of expenses starting March 1st, 2020, and to declare an emergency. I'd like to have Bo Chillin with Impact Community Action discuss the HOPE Fund and its partners and how residents can gain access to these dollars. Bo?
Good evening, President Hardin, Pro Tem Brown, Chairwoman Favor, and members of council. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you, and thank you for your leadership. You've really stepped up in a big way to help avert some of the crisis of evictions that we know are coming our way. This is going to help to stave that off. We initially started with $1 million contribution, trying to leverage another $1 million in support to create a fund of $2 million to address this. And I will say the response from the Columbus community has been amazing. To date, we've been able to raise $4.5 million that will go towards helping to solve this eviction issue for now, at least. As you've all alluded to, we know that this is just a stopgap for the initial wave. We anticipate that there is going to be a second wave of evictions coming in late fall, early winter. And so we're prepping for that as well. Thank you to our partnership with the Housing Stabilization Coalition, a number of partners who began this work 6 months ago about how do we coordinate and make sure that we have a comprehensive response. And so I really got to give credit to Jeff Bill, who's led the facilitation in bringing all those partners together. And a special thank you to Legal Aid and Community Mediation, who have been working with us, and they're passionate advocates. Our community is fortunate to have them working on our behalf. Through that work, we've been able to reach out to one of the law firms that has about 50% of the cases that are currently filed with eviction court. Councilwoman Favor, you alluded to the fact that there are over 1,200 filings that currently sit with Franklin County Court. And we know that there are many more with law firms who have yet to file, but will do so once the date gets closer. We've reached out to one of the largest law firms that has 50% of those filings, and we have a conference call with them tomorrow to try and negotiate that. So potentially helping 600 people right off the bat will go a long way towards helping to avert this wave of evictions that could be coming our way. So very, very proud of the coalition, the work. We ramped up very quickly. Our initial plan was to try and see about 2,500 people over the course of 6 months. But during the press conference, it became clear that Mayor Ginther and this city council wants to be very aggressive. So our goal is to try and serve 2,000 residents within the next 3 months. And so we are going to execute on that and then reassess kind of where we are, and hopefully come back to the community to make sure that we're doing all that we can to make sure that we truly have one Columbus and prosperity for all. So thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Director Stevens, are there any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Favor. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I appreciate the leadership of council and my team to pull this together so quickly so we can address that immediate need. So thank you.
Thank you. And before we take the vote, I'm going to take a point of privilege and express my gratitude, my appreciation to Mayor Ginther, Director Stevens, and his entire team over at the Department of Development, our housing partners, the central, our congressional delegation, who has worked so diligently on our behalf, my colleagues at council, and most importantly, my team, Tynesha Hardin, Charles Newman, and Andrew Dyer. For the last 7-ish weeks, We have had meeting after meeting. We've wrote letters after letters and made numerous calls, all to get us to this moment. And this is the short-term response, and we know that. But we're confident that with all the people that have stepped up to the plate and have truly accepted our fight, our advocacy, and maybe they're just tired of me at this point. Either way it goes, I cannot be more grateful than I am right now that people will have roofs over their heads come June 1st, that we've got partners lined up to help you. And so for that, I just truly want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And so with that, I would move for adoption.
Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you.
Councilmember Tyson.
Yes, so first of all, I want to say thank you to, and I was waiting till after all the ordinances had passed. So first of all, well, except for this one, Councilman Favor, I just want to say thank you for your advocacy for individuals in our community who are certainly will be in need of housing. I also want to congratulate the partners who are working with you, especially Community Mediation Services. Shelley Whalen's been doing this work for quite some time, certainly the legal aid, but also I want to say a special thank you to Bo Chilton, who has been working tirelessly to make sure that he is fighting for individuals who are certainly in our community that have individuals who are certainly dealing with poverty. And so I thank him for the work that he does every single day. This certainly is a solution for right now, and I appreciate this solution. Of that $51 million that we received for human services, $3 million is supporting this work. And there's no way that our community could absorb all these individuals without these funds. These individuals would be having to go to the possibly to the Community Shelter Board, which they absolutely cannot take on any more of those any more individuals to come in to help them even on a short-term basis. So this legislation is really important. Prior to COVID, we know that what our evictions were like. And we also know that who was being evicted. And a lot of them were Black women were being evicted and their children. And so we've heard the numbers earlier from the council meeting about who COVID has affected. And so with this legislation, we will be helping families to be in stable housing for a period of time. And I appreciate the comments that Councilmember Favor made in regards to this is a short-term fix, because we know that the pandemic is not going to be, and the after effects of this pandemic are going to be around for quite some time, and it is going to require significant resources and thoughtfulness by this group of people who's been sharing information today to come up with more solutions as we move forward for these individuals. So I thank you for what you're doing right now to help people and families to have stable housing. And certainly, I personally will look forward to continue to working with you, advocating for you for the work that you're doing with these families. So this is amazing legislation. I'm so glad we got these dollars from the federal government, because without that, I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I look forward to the passing of this legislation and the helping of our families.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Are there any additional questions or comments? With that, I would move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Hardin?
Yes, ordinance passed.
Thank you. Council President, may I move on to criminal justice and judiciary?
Yes, but I just want to make one note, Chair, that there were written testimonies on two pieces of legislation in your committee, one from Eric Russell and one from Harry Ruiz, but that will be submitted for the record. But you're
okay.
Move on.
Thank you, thank you. My apologies.
No problem.
In Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, we have ordinance number 0993-2020 to authorize and direct the administrative judge of Franklin County Municipal Court to accept and grant award from the Center for Court Innovations, a project of the Fund for the City of New York, to appropriate $135,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Private Grants Fund to the Franklin County Municipal Court specialized docket for the purpose of contracting with 2 peer support specialists to be assigned to the Catch Human Trafficking Specialty Court and to declare an emergency. Now I'd like to turn it over to Judge Barrows to comment further on this ordinance. Judge Barrows?
Thank you, Council President Hardin, Chair Favor, and members of council. You're all aware of our specialized dockets in the municipal court. Council has supported those dockets for many years. In these dockets, we deal principally with high risk and high needs people. There are several dockets. One deals with addiction, one deals with mental health, one deals with veterans, and another deals with human trafficking victims. Through the course of study for best practices regarding specialized dockets, a solid mentorship program has been proven to be one of those best practices. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing to you one of the coordinators of our human trafficking docket, Hannah Estabrook, to talk about the Peer Specialist program that's coming up. Hannah.
Thank you, Judge Barrows, and greetings, City Council. My name's Hannah. I'm the director of the Catch Court program. And I must begin by expressing my gratitude for your unwavering support for the pioneering Catch Court program over the last decade. It's been one of the greatest privileges of my life to work for Judge Paul Herbert and with an amazing army of survivors. For anyone who has observed a Catch Court session, and as a reminder, you're welcome anytime there isn't a pandemic happening to come to a Thursday afternoon session to see the magic happen in person. But if you've observed it, you know that community is our special sauce. And you are part of that community, and I am part of that community. But there's no question that the secret ingredient inside the special sauce, and forgive me for belaboring this metaphor, is the survivor herself. When a woman is deciding whether or not she can trust the Catch program, it is not the powerful judge that convinces her. It is the room full of survivors who say to her, we're going to love you until you love yourself and give yourself a chance. Survivors have taught me an important saying, nothing about us without us. The professionals, if you want to call them that, have established a wonderful program, but it is time to take it to the next level. It is time for this program to have some established leadership from survivors themselves. When a survivor of human trafficking is at her rock bottom, addicted, beaten, homeless, jailed, she doesn't just need to hear a professional say, you can do better than this, or you're worth it, as true as those things may be. She needs someone to look her in the eye and hear what we all need to hear at some point in our lives. Me too. With a robust response to survivors of human trafficking in Central Ohio for over a decade, this city should be proud of the survivor leaders that have emerged. But it's time to go beyond proud. It's time to extend any resource and opportunity we can, including employment. My time with Catch Court will be coming to an end in the upcoming months, and it would be a dream come true for me personally and for this program to add the position of Catch Court Peer Support Specialist to the dynamic team. Thank you so much for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Councilmember Favor, for bringing this ordinance to the fore this evening.
Thank you, Judge Barrows, and thank you, Hannah, for your hard work and for fighting for every individual that chooses to accept assistance. I've been to Catch Court, and I know the great work that is done there every single day. It's hard work, and so it's hard work that is hard work. And so I appreciate all that you do. And so with that, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Move for passage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Braun, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Pass.
Thank you. That is all of my committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee. Committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Hardin. I have 6 ordinances in the Economic Development Committee this evening. The first is one of 4 ordinances on the agenda this evening relating to Gravity 2. Ordinance number 72, 2020, to remove several parcels from the existing East Franklinton tax increment financing area by amending Ordinance 2283, 2012 to create the Gravity Phase 2 5709.410B TIF area to declare improvements to those TIF parcels to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation, to require the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, to require the distribution of the applicable portion of those service payments to the Columbus City School District, and to establish an urban redevelopment municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of the remainder of those service payments, to otherwise implement the economic development agreement authorized by Ordinance 1732, 2019, and to declare an emergency. This council passed Ordinance 1732, 2019 on July 22nd, 2019, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into an economic development agreement with Kaufman Development, doing business as the Gravity Project 2 LLC, and Columbus Housing Partnership, Inc., doing business as Homeport, hereinafter referred to as the development team. Pursuant to the EDA, the city and the development team desire for city council to approve tax increment financing under 570941B of the Ohio Revised Code to pay for certain infrastructure improvements in support of the Gravity 2 urban redevelopment project located between West Broad Street on the north, West State Street on the south, McDowell Street on the west, and the CSX Railroad on the east, and in support of the Homeport affordable housing project located on the former West Side Spiritualist Church at the northwest corner of McDowell Street and West Street. In order to implement the projects under the EDA, this ordinance will remove certain parcels from the existing East Franklinton TIF to establish a new non-school TIF area known as the Gravity Phase 2 for the projects, and provide for a 100% exemption from real property taxation on all improvements to the parcel within the new TIF area for a period of not more than 30 years. Annual service payments in lieu of those taxes will be made with respect to improvements to the new TIF parcels. The applicable portion of those service payments will be distributed directly to the Columbus City School District in the same manner as usual, in the amount that the school district would have received in real property taxes had the tax exemption not been granted. The remaining non-school portion of those service payments will be paid to the city for deposit into a new TIF fund established in this ordinance to be used to fund infrastructure improvements benefiting the new TIF parcels. First, I request that this ordinance be removed from the table.
So moved.
And then I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the roll on removing from the table.
Oh, yeah.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Remove from the table.
And I'm sorry, now I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
All right, this evening we have Frank Sasso, the president of Kaufman Development, here to provide more details on the Gravity 2 project. Frank, are you out there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Somewhere.
Can you
but
hear
we
me?
can hear you. Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right,
Yes,
go
thanks.
for it. Floor is
Chair
yours.
Remy, thank you. President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, and members of council, thank you so much. And I just want to say a special thanks for your leadership. I've been getting all your email updates and press releases, and I appreciate all the really great work you guys are doing for our city in a very important and challenging time. So thank you for that. Just say a few quick words. Gravity Phase 2 is about a $200 million project, mixed-use development located in Franklinton, right just south of Broad Street, right across the street from Gravity Phase 1. Phase 2, once it's complete, is going to contain a very diverse mix of product type. We'll have about 350 market rate apartment units. We'll have 150 co-living units, which will be attainably priced between $700 and $900 a month, so affordable to people well below 80% AMI. 170,000 square feet of Class A office, and that's going to be geared towards tech firms and high growth type companies. That office space will support the creation or the retention of nearly 850 jobs in the neighborhood of Franklinton. And then also through a very creative partnership, sort of public-private nonprofit partnership between us and with the support of the City of Columbus and then our partners at Homeport, is going to allow for the development of a 50 to 60 unit LIHTC affordable housing project across the street, which will create those units that'll be restricted for residents earning below 60% AMI. So it's a really high impact project all around. And I would just end by saying, even in the best of times, a project like this could not move forward without things like the TIF and the support of the city and city council. And as we all know, we are not in the best of times. This is absolutely critical to us being able to move it forward and have the impact in the economic development, job creation, and affordable housing creation that we're going to be able to bring with the project. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. If you could, just let me ask you a couple questions. Obviously, the times have changed the last couple of months. What has this done to impact this project or any other projects you may be working on currently?
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's made it significantly more challenging to obtain both debt and equity financing, capital for our projects. And I think that's kind of across the board. But both, I think, lenders and equity investors are being much more selective and sort of careful about moving projects forward, making new investments, which obviously, is critical to being able to move something like this forward. There's a lot of uncertainty, in particular with respect to the office market. Job growth, I think, has been a great success story for our city, and we're coming into, the situation we're in now in a really good place. But it's something that for all of us, I think, is important to continue. But getting people comfortable with building office that's speculative in nature that isn't currently leased is very challenging in this time.
With that being said, what is the time frame for this project in particular?
And we're in a position to, with the passage, hopefully tonight, of the legislation pending before you, we've got a few more things to go through with plan review, and then we should be in a position to get moving here in July.
Great. I appreciate you coming on, Mr. Sasso.
Thank you, Chair.
Director Stevens, do you have any comments you'd like to make about this particular ordinance and the following ordinances?
I'd just like to share, it's great that we're moving ahead with this project to continue to have some speculative office space that will be going online, so we can continue to work on some of the projects that we've been pursuing to bring jobs and investment, that critical income tax revenue that we need going forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you much, Director. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you very much. Next, I have ordinance 9/11/2020 to authorize the transfer within and to appropriate $451,357.55 in the West Edge 2 TIF fund and $48,642.45 in the East Franklinton TIF fund, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into a neighborhood structured parking incentive contribution agreement with the Gravity 2 LLC project, to authorize the expenditure of $451,357.55 in the West Edge 2 TIF fund and $48,642.45 in the East Franklinton TIF fund, and to declare an emergency. Kaufman Development, doing business as the Gravity 2 project, has finalized plans for its Gravity Phase 2 urban redevelopment project located at 455 West Broad Street and identified as the city, the developer, and the Columbus Housing Partnership, known as Homeport, have entered into an economic development agreement, which just passed to further the project. They have dedicated per the EDA, the developer has committed to dedicating a minimum of 200 spaces to public use of the approximately 900 parking spaces in the garage, and the city agreed to contribute to a contribution of $10,000 for each of the 200 public parking spaces in an amount not to exceed a total contribution of $2 million. This legislation authorizes the Director of Development to the Department of Development to enter into a neighborhood structured parking incentive contribution agreement with the developer in the transfer, appropriation, and expenditure of the first 25% of the contribution. Excuse me. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Second.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance 912, 2020 to authorize the director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with the Gravity Project 2 LLC, doing business as Kaufman Development, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $31,176,371 in the creation of 50 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $3 million. The Gravity Project 2 LLC is proposing to redevelop approximately 5 acres near the corner of West Broad and McDowell Streets in East Franklinton. This project will involve a total investment of approximately $194.5 million, which includes $7.5 million in land and acquisition costs, $165 million in real property improvements, and approximately $22 million for a new parking structure at 451 and 455 West Broad. The proposed mixed-use development will consist of a new 6-story Class A commercial office facility consisting of approximately 175,750 square feet, a 12-story residential unit comprised of approximately 218,796 square feet, with ground floor Class A office space consisting of approximately 21,445 square feet, a 5-story residential mid-rise consisting of approximately 81,340 square feet, a 5-story residential structure consisting of approximately 24,461 square feet of residential townhomes, and the renovation of a 1-story retail building consisting of approximately 4,600 square feet. Additionally, a new parking structure, which we just approved, will be constructed with 900 parking spaces and 200 targeted for public use. The company anticipates that the development of the proposed project will lead to the relocation of an unknown number of positions from within the city of Columbus and create 50 new net full-time positions, permanent positions, with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $3 million on the proposed project site. The Columbus City School District has been advised of this project. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll. Passed.
Thank you very much. Next, I have ordinance number 954, 2020, to authorize the director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Settlemuter Electric Limited and 711 Claycraft LLC for a tax abatement of 65% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $1,650,000 in real property improvements, the retention of 175 full-time permanent positions, and the creation of 20 new full-time permanent positions. The need exists to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Settlemuter Electric Limited and 711 Claycraft LLC. The Ohio Enterprise Zone Law, Section 5709, 62C of the Ohio Revised Code, requires the city to enter into council-approved agreements within the city and participating companies. Tonight we have, let's see. Let me finish this part right here. SME and 711 Claycraft LLC are proposing to invest a total project cost of $2,250,000, which includes $1,650,000 in real property improvements to construct an approximately 12,000 square foot addition onto their existing headquarter facility and construct a 3,500 square foot warehouse at 711 Claycraft Road. Additionally, the company will retain 175 full-time permanent positions with an annual payroll of approximately $9,962,749 and create 20 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $1,094,998 at the proposed project site. The Department of Development recommends 65% 10-year enterprise zone tax abatement on real property improvements. The Columbus City School Board of Education has been advised of this project, and so now we have, hopefully, Cliff Harris, the CFO of Settlemuter, here to provide more background on this project. Cliff, are you out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. All right, you may proceed.
Yes, thank you so much to the City Council. Just on behalf of Settlemuter Electric, just want to express how excited we are for this opportunity to renovate our current facility and stay in the City of Columbus. we're growing now, and we have plans for future growth, and this expansion would accommodate that growth, and it'll also improve the efficiency at how our company operates. The abatement's a great incentive for our company, and we're very thankful for the efforts of the Economic Development Division towards us getting it, and we're just looking forward to keeping our headquarters in the city and making this project a success for our company and the city. We will be adding jobs for sure, and we're excited about that. And it's been on the call this evening. It's been humbling hearing about all the great work that's being done in the city, and just thank you for this time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. We appreciate you taking the time to come and tell us a little bit more about your project, and certainly I look forward to the support. Director Stevens, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make on this particular project?
President Hardin, Chair Remy, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for my comments? Or seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Next, I have ordinance number 976, 2020, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into a tax increment financing cooperative agreement by and among the City of Columbus, the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority, the Gravity 2 New Community Authority, and the Gravity Project 2 LLC or its affiliate, Gravity 2 Garage LLC, to appropriate and authorize the expenditure of TIF revenues that are deposited in the Gravity Phase 2 TIF Fund and to declare an emergency. My colleagues have any questions or comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Finally, we have ordinance number 1179, 2020, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into a contract with Columbus Sister Cities International, Inc. in an amount up to $150,000 for the purpose of promoting business, government, cultural, educational, and environmental exchanges between the Columbus Sister Cities, to authorize the expenditure of $150,000 from the 2020 General Fund budget and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the Director of Development to enter into contract with Columbus Sister City International in an amount of up to $150,000 to administer the Columbus Sister Cities International program for the purpose of promoting business, government, cultural, educational, and environmental exchanges between the Columbus Sister Cities, as well as long-term economic development. The 10 sister cities are Accra in Ghana. I should have studied this a little bit before. Ahmedabad in India, Curitiba in Brazil, Dresden in Germany, Genoa in Italy, Hefei in China. I'm going to ask the director for some help with this. Herzliya in Israel, Odense in Denmark, Seville in Spain, and Tainan in Taiwan. City funding has been provided in previous years to support staffing and administrative costs of CSCI. CSCI has worked diligently to raise capital for its overall operation. Additional support is required to maintain a full-time executive director and to defray miscellaneous administrative costs. And as someone that was fortunate enough to go over to Dresden, Germany earlier this year to honor the anniversary of the 75th bombing by the Allies of Dresden, Germany, and to see the environment that our Sister Cities program has fostered and the type of sharing of information that exists between our sister cities. It is such a wonderful program, and I'm excited that you're not too new to the job these days, but certainly newer to the job in the last year. The executive director of Greater Columbus Sister Cities, Jamie Staley, to give a little bit of background about the organization and importance of the funding. So go for it.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, Council President Hardin. I want to take a moment to thank the leadership of Columbus City Council with Greater Columbus Sister Cities for decades now. We have had some exceptional programming that I want to take a brief moment to highlight from 2019. The first of which being under the leadership of Councilmember Tyson and bringing the Paganini violin from our sister city of Genoa to Columbus, to a sold out crowd at the Ohio Theater. That violin had never been in the Midwest previously, and in large part because of the partnership that Councilmember Tyson was able to grow with our sister city of Genoa. We were really lucky during these trying times of COVID-19 to do a rebroadcast of that. That rebroadcast brought that concert to 14,000 more folks in our city. So we're really excited about the way the city is growing, and our relationships during this time with our partners around the world have become even more significantly connected as we stay in touch with them and trying to understand best practices that they are using as they encounter the very same challenges that we do each and every day. A couple more things that I just want to highlight for you in terms of program accomplishments this year. We did do a delegation with Council President Hardin and Councilmember Remy to Dresden to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Dresden city bombings. During that time, however, we were also able to meet with some of our marathon participants, have conversations on economic development and student leadership exchanges, and really share this Columbus story with our partners abroad. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. 2020 has been a really exciting year for us to date. We obviously are making some recalibrations in our current climate, but we look forward to going out and advocating for our city around the world as soon as we are able.
Thank you so much. I know you've been very much involved with communicating with these cities during this time and learning more about what they're doing. And so appreciate your efforts on that. I see Councilmember Favor has something she'd like to say.
I do. Actually, it's more of it's a question to Jamie. Just given the impact of COVID-19 on across the world, what do you see the role of sister cities in helping to kind of address that divisiveness that has occurred on a worldwide scale and truly start to bring countries back together again?
Absolutely. I think there has never been a time that's been more significant for us to have relationships around the world. If anything, this crisis has taught us, it's that we really are connected to one another more than we ever realized was possible. And so by having conversations with our partners in Hefei and understanding what they were going through, to recording messages of hope and leadership with our partners in Dresden, we've really been able to strengthen the things that connect us. And by doing that, I think we are making the world and Columbus's role within it a really empowering place for us to be. There is no question that some of the programming we had hoped to execute this year will not be happening. That being said, we look to our partners around the world to find ways to bridge that gap here in the interim. And that's really where the partnership with the Columbus Symphony and the Columbus Museum of Art and the rebroadcast of the Paganini concert with just one small way that we're looking to kind of share an international message with the folks around the world. We actually had folks in Genoa, Italy watching that concert at the same time that we had folks in Columbus, Ohio doing it. And so we're just going to continue to focus on enhancing our domestic programming and preparing for the time in which we can actually take our Columbus message to all of our sister cities as we look to expand cultural education and economic development.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, Chair Remy. And just want to share that I know this year we even we had a competition for a pesto festival, and the individual that won at Columbus State in their amazing culinary school. And the individual that won was excited about going over and competing in Italy. So hopefully that in a few years from now, he'll be able to do that. But also to address, so two things. One, I want to say thank you, Jamie, for the work that you're doing, and you and Samin to continue to keep in contact with our partners all over the world. And also just want to share that those partnerships really matter. I've had the opportunity to talk with Anna Maria, who's in Genoa, Italy, and certainly, as we know, that COVID was there before it was here, and to have conversations with her as to, how they're doing, how her family's doing, how the country's doing, has made an impact on just my life. And to think about, sometimes you don't know people in other countries, so you can't really, people can't relate to how they're feeling. Well, this relationship that we have through our sister cities, we now know people that are there. We know how they're feeling, and again, we can learn from them. So I appreciate the work of sister cities, and just can't wait until the time where we can begin to travel again to those cities, and they travel here. But in the meantime, I'm just appreciative of the relationships that we have, and that the ongoing communication that you're having, Jamie, to work with those communities, as well as those communities have asked us to partner in different ways. And I know that you've been working on partnerships with, at least I know for Genoa, but other sister cities. So as we continue to move forward, that we'll have, the work will be ready, and we'll be able to continue to build on those partnerships. So I thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. I can tell you we have a full slate of programming ready to roll in 2021. And we are still hopeful that our pesto champion will be headed to Italy at some point this fall, but we shall see.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you very much. That's all I have tonight in economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Health and Human Services Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Tyson. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
I'm ready. The lightning just kind of struck in my, there we go. Is that good?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Oh, my mic getting mine. All right, so let's get this moving. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Oh. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I have ordinance. What is happening here? All right, I have ordinance number 1004-2020. And it is to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept grants from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the amount of $440,912 and any additional funds for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care COVID-19 Response Grant Program, to authorize the appropriation of $440,912 to and any additional funds from the appropriated balance of the Health Department's Grants Fund, to authorize the city auditor to transfer the appropriations between object classes for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care COVID-19 Response Grant Program, and to declare an emergency. The Ryan White program provides support to low-income persons living with HIV in order to assure that they can achieve viral suppression and prevent transmission to other people. Low-income people living with HIV are more susceptible to the negative health and social consequences of COVID. Thus, the Ryan White program is expanding those services. These resources are limited and are likely to serve only about 400 people. Additional resources are available to support rental assistance and access to food and hygiene products for individuals who have been negatively impacted by COVID and those who already participate in the Ryan White program. Utility assistance has been expanded to include cell phone and Wi-Fi charges. Clients of the Ryan White program who need to access these services should work with their case manager. There are no questions or comments. I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 1019-2020. It is to authorize the Board of Health to enter into a contract with Equitas Health for the provision of eligible HOPWA services for the period January 1 of 2020 and December 31st of 2020, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,228,832.55 from the general government grant fund and to declare an emergency. The HOPWA program provides for the implementation of long-term comprehensive strategies for meeting the housing needs of low-income persons with HIV/AIDS and their families. And eligible activities include providing housing information services, resource identification, acquisition, rehabilitation, conversion, lease, repair of facilities to provide housing and provide housing and services, new construction of housing units, project or tenant-based rental assistance, short-term rent, mortgage and utility payments, and supportive services, and technical assistance and administrative support. The Board of Health will contract with Equitas Health to provide these services.
Like to hold this legislation?
If there's no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the Councilmember Chair, would you please read the number of the legislation again?
It's 1019-2020.
All right, thank you. Please call the row on ordinance 1019.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
All right. The next ordinance is 1012-2020, and it's to authorize the appropriation of $1,617,218 from the unappropriated balance of the general grant fund to Columbus Public Health for the 2020 HOPWA program, and to declare an emergency. And if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. And my final ordinance is ordinance 1019, and 2020 is to authorize the Board of Health to enter into a contract with Equitas Health for the provision of eligible HOPWA services for the period of January 1 of 2020 through December 31st of 2020, and to authorize expenditure of $1,228,832.55 from the general government grants fund, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I've already explained what the HOPWA fund is, and this is an Equitas who will be providing those resources to individuals who are living in our community. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Is there a second? Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
The ordinance is passed.
Thank you. That concludes the Health and Human Services for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing no further business to come before council, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Council reconvene on June 1st. All right, have a good evening, everyone.